Welcome to Power versus Control. Question: who has more power? The person who asks the questions or the person who has the answers? If you said the person who has the answers, you're right. The person who has the answers usually has the power because they've gained the knowledge. And as we all know, knowledge is power. So therefore, the person who has the answers has power. If you said the person who asked the questions, you're right. The person who asks the questions, first of all, never runs out of questions. Second of all, usually when they ask the questions, they gain the knowledge. Once they gain the knowledge, they've got the power. So the truth of it is, the person who asks the questions has power. The person who has the answers has power. Now, we need to find out what to do with it. Let's look at this from the perspective of working with a buyer. When you're working with a buyer, you need to have some knowledge. You have to ask questions, because if you don't ask the questions, you will not know how to provide them with what they need. Make sense? So what do you need to know? Well, you need to know what they're looking for. How many bedrooms? Do they need a finished basement? Where do they want to live? Is a school important to them? Are highways important to them? How important is having public transportation? So the more information that you get, the more power you will have in being able to provide them with what they need. And how are you going to find out what they need? Well, you've got the MLS. You've got all kinds of information. You've got Google. So here you are in a position to be able to gather all the information that you can, find out what it is they need, how are they going to get it, when do they want to move, have they been pre-approved for a mortgage, how much of a deposit have they got, and then you can give them the information about where they want to be. So you have a tremendous amount of power with that buyer. Here's the problem. You also need control. So the way to get control is, first of all, to give them the power. If you give your buyer the power, the knowledge, they'll be in a position to make a decision. Without that power, they cannot make a decision. And if they can't make a decision, you can't sell them a property. You can't perform your duty. You can't perform what you're supposed to do, which is to provide your customer with the best service that you can. And the way that you can do that is by giving away the power in order to gain the control. So what do we mean by gaining control? Well, you've got a buyer, and in some cases you've got a buyer who wants to test the market. They want to check things out. They want to see, let's see how desperate that seller is. Let's see if we can save a few bucks. Let's see if we can get things our way. Let's see if we can do what we need to do to make ourselves happy and to make ourselves comfortable. And that could be at the expense of the other person, in which case what we're talking about here is the negotiating process. Now, if you allow the buyer to set the pace for the negotiations, you're out of control. You've given them the control. Now, you've already given them the power. If you now give them the control, you will not succeed at this. So what you need to understand is, once you've given them the power, you now have control, providing that you don't give it away. One of the best ways to not give away control is to learn how to say no. That's not going to work. First of all, let's take a look at the situation. Let's review what it is, where it is, how many days on the market, who's selling it. Let's find out how many offers there's been on the property. Let's take a look at what you're willing to offer in what kind of market. If it's a seller's market and you come in with a low price, you're going to lose them. You're going to insult the seller. You may lose it to another buyer. You're going to lose them. If it's a buyer's market, you might have a better chance at fishing. But the bottom line is that you, the buyer, have to give me the control to be able to manage the situation. If you don't give me the control, we're not going to get there. The same thing holds true when you're dealing with a seller. You want to be able to get the listing, you want to be able to get it at the right price, and you want to be able to get it at the commission that you're worth. In order to do that, you have to have the power. You have to be able to give them the information that they need in order to make the decision to give you the listing, to give it to you at the right price, and to give it to you at the right commission, right? Well, in order to do that, you have to have the information. Once you've got that power, you give it up. You give them the power. And once you give them that power, you now have some control. Because you can decide whether you want to take that listing, whether it's got any value for you. And how to turn them around is going to be your exercise of control for them to be able to give you what you need at your terms and conditions. So you will see that in many of the training videos that I've created and I'm continuing to create for your learning, your knowledge, your education, and your growth, your professional growth, you will see a variety of different approaches to how you can use control to back up the knowledge that you've gained. And that will help you to make money, to serve your clients better, to be more of a professional, and to get to that next level in your growth that's important to you, your family, your friends, your image. Stay tuned.